For a preparedness or homesteading type application, there's few things that can beat the value along with the ease of putting in some fruit trees. Very few things require such little care and give us a good return on our investment. This fruit tree here, this is a plum tree. This was just planted. You can see it's a fairly young tree. Trying to keep the sun out here, not being directed in the camera. This is what you can expect usually to get from a nursery. I recommend you use a local nursery. Not so much for the fact that it helps the local economy, although that is a plus, but the fact that an older established nursery is going to know what's going to grow in your area, and more importantly, what's going to produce in your area. Here's an apple that's starting to bud out. We have some various different varieties here. Some are early and some are later varieties on the apples. The reason you want to get from a local nursery that's been in business for a while is you want to be sure that it's stuff that will grow and produce in your area. Part of the problem with just walking into a Walmart or a Lowe's or one of the big box type retailers and getting your fruit trees there is they don't buy locally, and so you might get something that is grown in different parts of the country and may not produce in your area. Now, it might grow there and it might suck up your nutrients and such like that, but it may not produce fruit there. Been there, done that. Bought a lot of red delicious apples because that was the variety I liked. So you always see the cliche, well, buy stuff you'll eat and all that good stuff, Well, the problem with that is I like red delicious as much as the next guy, but they didn't produce at all in my area. And to come to find out, sure enough, there's only about 4 varieties of apples that will produce in the area that we are in, because it is a very low chill hour area. We're here in the south, and what happens is we don't get the necessary amount of hours upon freezing, a little cluster of apples for you, that some areas up north do. So your red delicious may do great in New York and Pennsylvania and some of these states that are up in the northern tundra type regions and such, but they just don't produce down here in the south. So it's very important to go with a local source for your trees. Here's an older pear tree. I recommend folks get started with pears because there isn't a lot that really affects a pear tree. These trees are probably about 15 years old. I have to turn the camera sideways to even get it all in the little viewing window here. This one tree, there's another one alongside of it over here that's about the same size. The tree previously pictured, as well as this tree produced so much fruit. Last year we were able to can almost 300 jars of pears just from these 2 trees alone. And there was a considerable amount of waste as well. Here's another pear tree. This one is actually overgrown with a grape vine as well. And we actually just decided to just kind of let this go as is. You can see there's pears in there, and there'll also be grapes here before too long as well. Pear trees are great in that, again, very little affects them. Apples, you have to spray more, and there's all sorts of diseases and such like that affect them. But pears don't seem to have as many problems. Fire blight is probably about the only serious thing that really affects them. So if you're just getting started, consider the pear trees and such. Those 2 big pear trees I just show you, a couple of them are more of what's called considered a cooking pear. And we actually have to boil them down a little bit when we process them and such, but that's okay. We throw in some cinnamon sugar and make some nice pears. Here's a little cluster of apples for you. This tree right here, this apple tree, is about what you can expect from a tree. Oh, let's see, approximately 8 years old, roughly 8 or 9 years old. These are all dwarf or semi-dwarf trees. This one stands, oh, I would say 15 foot. Lots of little clusters of apples up there and such like that. You can see here at the base of it, and I'll shoot some more in a little while with it running, we use a form of drip irrigation. This is a good way to go. What you're seeing there on the ground is what's called the spaghetti hose. There's a leader line. You can kind of see from the video here the little indentation there along the line. That was where the leader line was originally put in the ground. And I'll take you over by the grapes where you can see it in a little bit better detail. But drip irrigation seems to be the way to go with fruit trees. Remember, before you get started, to get a good soil test and things like that. Correct anything you need to correct. A lot of folks will tell you, "Oh, throw some fertilizer in the hole when you plant it." That is incorrect. You'll end up burning your roots and such like that. Not a good idea in general to do that. Here again, we seem to like apples. We have, oh, the better part of 100, maybe a little bit more than 100 fruit trees, and apples and pears make up the majority of them. They seem to be the easiest to grow. Oops. Pause.